Hello and welcome to my F1 24 driver career mode here today for part 42 for the Dutch Grand Prix. We're back for the first round after the summer break and we're looking to start the second half of the season strong as we still have an outside chance at the World Championship. As we come into qualifying now, we round the final corner, with that bank corner, we come up to the line and our good luck is good enough for P5. We went again on the same at the end of the session. We blocked a bit there by Esteban Ocon, but we found half a second on this lap as we round the final corner. Once again we come up to the line, cross it, and that's going to be good enough for P5. Now our final run in the session, we didn't improve, but we have dropped down and we will start the race P7.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Brown, Ricciardo, Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Perez, Russell, Tsunoda, Sainz, Stroll, Bottas, Hülkenberg, Joe and Logan Sargent. And now it's time to head down to the track. Here we go then, the formation lap is underway. There are wet conditions here today. Each driver will no doubt be mindful of the wet surface as they prepare to race around the track. Cars come back to the grid to line up for the start of the race. Each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that within the points.
So here we go then, it's the 5 red lights, it's a wet Dutch Grand Prix, it's meant to dry up. And we're racing here at Zandvoort and we've got a decent second launch. There's a Ferrari for Lewis Hamilton, we've got two already. Now we try to go around the outside of Charles Leclerc. Can we get our teammates? Well, we dropped it at turn one, we catch the slide. We just about stay in front and keep the car pointing in the right direction, but we've gone up from P7 to P4 on the open lap in the first couple of corners. Next up, as we're on the grass, we keep it in a straight line as Leclerc tries to find a better back passes. He dips a wheel onto the grass as we're behind our teammate now. After that little moment, started to get away, but Max leads his home Grand Prix, leading the championship as well. Lando is P2 and we are all over the back of our teammate Alonso, trying to find a way through. We've got very good pace on these wet tyres earlier on in the Grand Prix. Lap 4, Max and Lando are starting to pull away a little bit, so some team orders could be very handy here, because I believe we can get down the road and after the top two, but we're going to have to get Alonso first, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Down the inside, no team orders needed. We've got the job done on the track. Alonso's trying to keep it round the outside, but he has to back out, and we get the job done on Fernando Alonso and move up into the podium places. And once we were free from Alonso, we were absolutely flying. We found 7 tenths on him and we've gone to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, as the rain is slowly stopping, the track is slowly drying, and by lap 6 into the pits comes Sergio Perez and a couple of cars behind him, and Perez going on to the Inters. He does think it's time for the Inters and I kind of agree with him there, but what is the pace advantage? Is that really the right decision early on? Here is Max. If the pitted Perez is a bit of a test if it is ready, but Max has stayed out, we're going to pit because I believe it's time. Max is the fastest lap of the race so far. As we come into the pits, we're going to go onto the inters. I think it's a good call to go on the inters now. Also, if there is a big tyre delta, we can gain hopefully some positions on Max, maybe Lando as well, if they both come in for the inters, of course, as well. We're going to come out in a bit of space. Not far up the road is Joe in the Sauber, but we've got enough time to get the tyres up to temperature, because lap 9 we're all over the back now of Joe. A couple of laps later it took us to catch him. The wet tyres don't seem to be it, but there's not many cars boxing, as we're going to go to the inside. It's still off Joe, it's still wet, very very wet offline, but the racing line, you can see the tyre tracks very much starting to form now. So this is Max now, round in the final corner, from the lead, boxes. Is he going for the inters? Maybe Perez was the test, and Red Bull decided that maybe a couple laps longer was the way to go on the wets before going to the inter. But now we've boxed a couple laps earlier than Max. But where do we come out relative to the Red Bull? Can we beat him out? Where are we? We did lose a bit of time stuck behind Joe, as now there's the Mercedes. Can Max beat out the Mercedes of George Russell? No, he can't. Side by side, George is going to have the extra grip, as he stayed out on the wet tyres, and there we are. We've lost a lot of time to Max. And now this is Lando, one lap later, lap 10, stays out. So McLaren don't think it's ready, neither do the other side of the garage with Alonso. Also Leclerc and Hamilton, everyone's staying out. Are they doing the Belgium strategy from last season, if you remember, when Lando won, as we are on the back of Tsunoda, get the job done round the outside? Maybe so does Max on George there, he gets the Mercedes, but maybe they're doing the Spa strategy of staying out on the full wet tyres until it dries and go straight onto the dry tyres. Maybe that's the way to go. A lot easier to overtake in Spa than it is here in Zandvoort, which could be an opportunity as we overtake George. But the tyre delta was a lot smaller that day than it is today. We are gaining seconds a lap on these that are staying out on the wet tyres compared to our inter as the rain stops. Round the outside goes Max on Ocon, and by half a lap's time we've caught the back of Ocon. You can see Max has disappeared up the road, but the wet tyres staying out till it dries potentially isn't the way to go today like it was that day in Spa. You can see the extra grip that we've got, so much more confident on the inter compared to Ocon's wets. And now we go down the inside into that chicane and we have a little wobble on the apex, but we get him. This is Alonso now, lap 13, he still hasn't boxed, and he's not going to be able to box as the engine has gone bang in the back of his Aston Martin. The Mercedes engine has let go, and he could have potentially got a win today. That's not going to happen now, but that also puts concerns over our engine. Are we going to have a similar issue? Are we going to have to turn the engine down? Alonso's on the sidelines, as now we've caught Max up again because he's been tucked up behind Lewis Hamilton, and the wet tyres are just so much slower today. As we're in the tyre tracks of Max, we're alongside the Red Bull, we're ahead of the Red Bull, going into turn 1. Max is going to try and hold it around the outside. He gets his nose ahead briefly, and there's contact. There's contact between our left rear end and the end plate of Max Verstappen. Has he got damage or it looks like we've got away without a puncture as we're all over the back now of Lewis Hamilton. You can see the wet tyres isn't the way to go. Surely they have to box for Inter, but they've lost so much time as we go down the inside of Lewis Hamilton and we get the job done. Hamilton now gets a better exit as we were on the grass. Now we kind of have to hold it around the outside. Now coming out, look at the extra traction that we have over Lewis Hamilton. The launch coming out of there. Max now side by side trying to go round the outside of Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, in the Ferrari, and Ferrari has to give up that one. As now the rain is really stopping. You can see the gap now to those in front. We're back on the podium with one purple set to 1. 5.5 seconds, 5.6 seconds is the gap between us and Leclerc in P2 as we set the fastest lap of the race. We're 1.5 seconds thereabouts in front of Max, and by lap 18, just 2 laps later, we are 2 seconds behind Leclerc. The gap between the wet and the Inter tyre delta is unbelievable now. But the track's only dry, we're not that far away, so if those wet runners can hold on, and the McLaren of Lando Norris is in from the lead, does he think it's time for the dry tyres? As it's a slow stop, but the dries aren't going on. It's Inter for the McLaren. What are McLaren doing here? The track is a couple of laps away from dries. They have gone the entire race on the wet tyres, and now they're boxing for Inter when the track is dry, and so's loads of other cars. The Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton is in, so's Alpine, so's the Mercedes, and they're all just going to fall back into this pack that they've also all boxed for Inter. It's now we've caught Leclerc, we're ahead of the Ferrari, we've done him down the inside, but what is going on here? McLaren have thrown away a potential easy win today. But if Ferrari have done the strategy of Hamilton, are they going to do the same with Leclerc? And they are, as Leclerc's into the pits. He's going on into her as well. The track is dry. Ferrari have a nightmare, so are most of the field. What is going on at the halfway mark of this Grand Prix? The track is dry. So here we go then, lap 22, the end of lap 22. We have a little wobble. The track is near enough ready for dries now, I think. Max is going to come in, we're going to come in. We've nearly kind of cut him off there a bit as we come down the pit lane now. We'll hit our marks, perfect time, get off road. Inters will go out to the mediums because there's only 13 laps to go. Hopefully that should get us to the end of the race, but it looks like Max has gone onto the hards. And now we find ourselves with the questionable strategies of McLaren and Ferrari after the entire time getting our way back through on the Inter compared to the wet. We're in the lead. As you can see, everyone who boxed, there's Leclerc, everyone who boxed at Inter about 1 or 2 laps later are now boxing for hards. Everyone's gone hards. We've gone onto the mediums to try and get us to the end as we have a big bubble there, as we try and find the grip. As now we go down the straight into, the engine's gone. No! It's Alonso retired with an engine issue. The engine issue has happened to us as well. It's going to be a double retirement for us. And what for half a lap was looking like a win is now gone. We're out of the Dutch Grand Prix.
Out of the final corner for the final time, Max Verstappen takes the win.
You can just see the utter joy and relief on this driver's shoulders today, because we know that the driver's contribution to the Constructors' title is what keeps them in their seats. So they have definitely impressed their bosses today.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
So that's been your Dutch Grand Prix then, won by Max Verstappen. Lando Norris, despite the strategy error from McLaren, still got P2, and Alex Albon got his way through the mayhem to finish on the podium, P3, good for him. Leclerc was P4, Oscar Piastri rounds out the top 5. It's a double DNF for us. Alonso retired early on and we retired late on after getting in the lead. It was the control electronics that went on us. I kind of feel like we should have 3 wins in a row. We won Silverstone, we should have won last time out in Spa if we hadn't got the puncher, and I believe we would have won today. I think we had the pace to fend off Max, but we'll never know, and it's just a disappointing day for us. It could have been a good chunk taken out of Max in the championship, and then the final finisher was Logan Sargent. In terms of the Drivers' World Championship then, Max has extended his lead over Fernando Alonso to 64 points, and Lando has also jumped Alonso as well. He's been jumping up the last couple of rounds, has Lando up the order, and we've also been jumped by Albon. We've gone now down to P5. We've lost a lot of points in the last couple of races. I think the championship may be too far for us now, but there's a long way to go, being 80 points behind, and then down at the back there's still quite a few drivers still yet to score, and it's still Logan Sargent who is bottom. And then the Constructors' Championship, we've led it pretty much the entire season, but that double DNF and the Max win means Red Bull now have a 13-point lead in the Constructors' World Championship. And although Perez hasn't really been there, Max has always been there, despite whatever me and Alonso have been doing. The Constructors is still the big focus now, but that's been your Dutch Grand Prix. It's a shame about the retirement that we didn't get a grandstand finish we could have possibly got. We go to Monza next. I'll see you in Monza. Goodbye.